Well, I'm live on YouTube, so welcome everybody. Welcome to our mortgage CeMAP live stream. I'm Paul Archer, but you can read all that all around everywhere, can't you, along the way? So that's fine by me. Got for you about 20-25 minutes of mortgage and CeMAP and all sorts of goodies that's going to help you to do the job and do the job really well. So, okay, let's just crack on with the first topic. No update for you because not a lot has happened again really in this market of ours. It's got a bit quiet with the stamp duty thing. Lots more high loan to values coming in, which is good to see all around. Lots of people wanting to get into the mortgage sector, though, which is pretty good news for everybody. So let's talk about three topics today if I get the chance, really. First one I want to talk about is how do you take a remote exam at home? So let's put a little title up here for you because I want to talk about this. By the way, you can comment if you're on YouTube. You can comment on this if you want to as well. So how do we succeed in a remote exam at home? So we're talking about remote exams. Now, as you can appreciate, when I first started off, I had to go along to a dusty old hotel in my car to take my exams. It was years ago. And they evolved and went on to the online thing where you had to go into a room where there was computers and you would log on and do your exam. But now, of course, they've evolved even further. Post-COVID, yeah, I get all that. But they would have done it anyway. But it's like a lot of things with COVID, it's kind of accelerated things. But what it means, therefore, is you can actually do your exam at home in your own house, which is fabulous, isn't it? Think about it. So you can be up there in the spare bedroom and you can be doing your exam in your spare bedroom or your study. Now, if you were to Google this and find out how it's all going, you'll hear some horror stories online of people who've tried to do it. I'm not going to judge anybody that's done it and done it badly because it's up to them how they do it. But they're very keen to go onto social media, aren't they? So sort of complaining about what's happened, expecting everything to be fixed overnight and to be refunded £1 million in compensation. But that's the culture that we're in. Now, the point is, though, that if you're going to do the exam on home, you've got to prepare for it. Now, just to give you some ideas about how to do this, I converted this basement, which you can only see this bit here, but there's a basement here under our house. We converted it last year. And we've designed it so that it's as perfect as we can for live streaming and videos and training online, which is obviously the way forward, isn't it? We know that. So what have we got? Well, we've got soundproofing. We've got some extra insulation in the walls, soundproof plasterboards. We're not going to be disturbed because it's closed off at the top there as well. And we're pretty self-contained down here. I've got some fibre optic broadband coming into the room here, two pipes. So if one fails, the other one kicks in pretty quickly. Now, in the same way, you need to take the exam with the same kind of concept, really. First of all, you need to use a room in your house. So, say, for example, you've got your spare bedroom, which is closed off, the door's closed. You don't want to be interrupted. If you get interrupted during the exam, they'll fail you because somebody's watching you all the time, you see. You want it fairly soundproofed, but most bedrooms aren't particularly soundproofed, are they? But you want it comfortable for 2 hours plus. So when you're sitting down on your laptop or computer doing your exam, you don't want to be disturbed for 2 hours and you want to be fairly comfortable. So make sure you open the window a little bit, get a bit of fresh air along the way. Wi-Fi, if you've got Wi-Fi coming into the house, which obviously people do, make sure that little Johnny in the next door is not gobbling up on his Xbox, for example, or somebody's live streaming or Netflixing downstairs. So make sure that everyone's off the internet to make sure it doesn't go off, because if it goes off suddenly, the computer program stops working and your exam will freeze, which causes all the problems. So make sure you get a constant speed coming through as well. So there's a couple of ideas for you. The other thing about live streaming, which I'm doing right now for you, is I'm in front of the camera, so I'm talking to you. But if, say, for example, I went off camera, if, for example, I went down here to drink my cup of tea, you'd wonder what I was doing. And if I went over here to press a button or two and went off camera completely, you'll think, well, what's Paul doing now? But that's the point, you see, because when you're doing a live exam, you're being watched by an invigilator. And if they see you go off for a drink or they see you disappearing off camera, they'll fail you because they can and they should, because you're probably going off checking your book or something like that. Bear in mind, they will want a webcam so they can see you all the time. As soon as you go off camera, they'll fail you. So make sure you don't do that as well. Now, other things that I do, before I start the live stream, I always set things up and I get the software working well. I reboot the computers so that there's no underlying software that's going to hog the system. If I'm online, for example, using a web browser, I'll reboot that and go fresh onto the actual product itself. I'll load the software, make sure everything's primed and good to go. In the same way, if you're doing the exam, make sure that any software you've got is cleared. Reboot your computer so that the only software is the one running the exam itself. So make sure everything's all clean and tidy and good to go. If you do these things, you won't go far wrong. It will actually work for you. You'll be able to do the exam at home and you won't go on to social media. You'll start moaning about everybody because nobody's up against me and I want some compensation because I've been hurt and suffered and all those good things. So enough of that, because people probably start commenting on YouTube about this as well. But it is the culture that we're in, aren't we? The final thing, by the way, if you need to go to the toilet, go before the exam. It's obvious, isn't it? You can't put your hand up and say to the invigilator, "Can I go to the loo, please?" halfway through the exam. If you do, of course, they'll fail you. So make sure you have a pee before you start the exam. There you go. Follow those tips, won't go far wrong. Bye. Okay, enough of that. That was quite cool, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed that one. It's quite a lot of fun, wasn't it? Okay. What we're going to do now is go on to a serious topic for you. A very serious topic indeed. Is the one I want to look at next. Let's get away from that. Let's get on to the topic of, well, we've been doing quite a few on welfare benefits over the last couple of weeks. So I want to finish off really. I've got two more to do. So I want to do one for you on disability benefits for 2020. Because as you can appreciate, if you're doing an exam, if you're doing a CeMAP exam, you know, disability benefits we're talking here. If you're doing an equity release exam, if you're doing an ER1 exam, RO1 exam, all acronyms, then you need to know about welfare benefits. But you need to know the basics, pretty much, not the detail, of course, because you can look that up on the internet if you're dealing with a customer, or you can get software that works it all out. But what I want to talk about now for a few minutes is the subject of disability benefits. Now, I'm talking here about disability, not sickness. Slight difference, and you could probably argue there isn't much difference, but a disability is a major thing. It's a major disablement of your ability to survive and operate in the world. It's not like being ill for a couple of months or for 6 months. Disability means it's not a long-term thing. So that's where we're going from here. There's three that we need to be aware of in our little talk on disability benefits. The first one is PIP, or personal independence. Let's put that whole thing in there for you. Personal independence. Yeah, squeeze that in there for you. Personal independence payment. Now the PIP, let's put that in black there for you. Personal independence payment is an extra payment payable to people of working age between 16 and 65, state retirement age, going up to 67 shortly, or 66 immediately, then 67 later on. But it's for working people, not those retired. And it's an amount of money that's payable to you to help you live, really, help you survive. It's based upon activities of daily living. So there's two parts to it. There's the living and there's the mobility component. So two parts to it, really. So you get money for living and money for a disability component. The more the disability you have, the more money you're going to get. So it's very much geared towards your current situation. I must admit, nipping around Gloucester in the car, see all these people in their little buggies nipping around. There's this chap that goes to the pub every day, I think, and he nips there on his buggy, and he parks his buggy outside the front door near King's Hole. It's quite funny to see, actually. But that guy, of course, has a permanent disablement, and that buggy has been bought for him by the welfare state, which it should be, because that gives him mobility, lets him get around as well. So look at the activities of daily living, all the food, washing, being able to dress yourself, leave the house. All those things are taken into account when determining the amount of money you're going to get. And it's a personal application, and individual needs determine what you're going to get. So that's pretty much how it works. Now, it is tax-free. Remember these three components: tax, means tested, national insurance. You've got to know those three for the exam itself, and also because it's useful to know. It's tax-free. It's not means tested. It's means tested on health, of course, but it's not means tested on the amount of money you've got in the bank or income you've got coming through. So it's not a huge amount of money. And it doesn't require a national insurance contribution record to get it. More than likely, people with a long-term disablement that's affecting their whole life won't have national insurance record anyway. So it's absolutely the right thing to do. So that's the personal independence payment there, working people we're talking about here. Now, for those people that have retired beyond state retirement age, they're entitled to the attendance allowance. I'll get a different colour pen for this one. Let's get a blue pen. An attendance allowance. Here we go. Attendance allowance. Well, the squeakiest pen in the world, isn't it? Now, the attendance allowance is pretty similar, really, but this one's for people of retirement age. It's people with severe disabilities, longer than 6 months, severe disablement, so very similar in a way. It's paid in the same way as before. It's tax-free. It's not means tested, and there's no need to have a national insurance record to get this. So these two, if you think about it, pretty much slip one into the other, isn't it? That's for working age people, so 16 to say 65 at the moment. Let's go up to 66, isn't it? And this is for 66 people plus. So the two work hand in hand. They do pretty much the same thing. Disability is payable. Attendance allowance is payable until you die, obviously. But if you go into a care home funded by the local authority, it stops being paid at that point. But that makes sense, kind of, in the way they think about it. Now, the third one for you is carers allowance. Let's put that one in there for you. Carers allowance. Carers allowance. Now, this is quite a nice one because it's named well, isn't it? Because it's given to the carer of the person who's caring for the person with the disablement. Now, I did some work a couple of years back for a charity called Young Carers here in Gloucestershire. I was fascinated by it because I didn't really know what was going on. I think we hired the training room that they offered. And I was amazed by all of this because what happens is they're a charity that looks after young kiddywinkies who care for their parents or for their guardians. And you've got kids who go to school and they care for their parents. Well, how brilliant is that? The charity helps as much as possible. Now, the thing about the carers allowance, though, is given to working age people. So this carers allowance is given to people of working age who are looking after these people. That's the whole point behind it. It's for working age people. It's not given if somebody's in full-time education or earning full-time. This is somebody who is basically not working and looking after somebody, so they need a bit of money to make ends meet. So these kids at this charity course wouldn't have been paid via this method, but there would be other kind of benefits available to them as well. The good thing about the carer is it does give you credit for national insurance. So if you claim it, you will get your national insurance stamp given to you. So when you come to take your state pension, you're going to get your full whack, aren't you? Which is a good thing all round. So it's the people, therefore, who are caring full time for somebody along the way. So think about it, somebody would get either one of these, they get that, and then the carer would get that. So there's double bubble coming in as well. Now, this one is not tax-free. It's means tested, but it's not reliant upon national insurance contributions. So slightly different combination there as well. On carers, so that's pretty much disability allowances, really. There are some old benefits. There's the legacy one called the disability living allowance, but that's gone now. Probably still claimed by a few people, but these are the three main ones as well. Oh, by the way, they get a Christmas bonus of £10. Can you imagine that? When I did a paper round in the 1970s, I got more than 10 quid. It's a Christmas bonus. You thought the government would be able to afford a bit more than that, but there we are. Such is life. We've got COVID money to pay for. We've got 400 billion to pay for at the moment. So these things may well be under the spotlight moving forward. Hope not, because people need looking after. And I think it's the state's responsibility to do so. That's how I roll. So there we have disability benefits for you. Bye. There you go. Nice, simple, fairly simple, straightforward concept there on disability benefits, just to update you along the way. So let's take a look at the final topic for you then. Let's give this one a bit of a wipe over. Let's talk about a final topic for you. Then I'm going to do a little bit of an advert for the winter cohort. We've got winter Mark II, so we've got the second winter CeMAP cohort starting early January. I think it's the 9th or 11th of January. coming up. We've got 25 people available for that, or 25 spaces, and you can come onto that and get yourself helped through your CeMAP. We want to get you done really by the end of the spring. It's a fantastic opportunity to get into the mortgage market, which is buoyant, big time buoyant, and there's a lack of people, so we're really looking for people to come on board and become mortgage advisors. So email me and I'll give you details. Just to go onto the website, you can see all the details below there if you wish to. What I want to talk about now, though, is the subject of fact finding. So we're talking about fact finding. What I'm talking about is how do you fact find? Now, I'm not talking about the general fact finding. We know how to do that as mortgage advisors, but how do you fact find online is the key to this topic, really. Fact finding, you appreciate, it's filling in a form pretty much, but it's actually having a decent conversation with your customers, find out what their needs, wants, desires, goals, ambitions, life is all about. And good fact finders have a really good conversation. And that's the point, you see, because when you're on camera, on Zoom or Teams or whatever your video technology, we need to keep our eye on the customer. We need to engage with them so that they talk to us. So the key thing about fact finding online is that you maintain contact with the eyes. Do you know what the eyes? Just put a couple of glasses in there for you. In other words, the camera. So if you've got a camera which you have on top of the monitor, you've got to maintain contact with that camera, because that's the eye contact you've got to give the customer. Now, some people are taught to stare at the lens and never let go. Okay, I get all that. Crikey, I teach the topic myself. And right now I'm looking at a couple of camera lenses over there, because that's where you guys are, and I can see you clearly, but I can't actually, I can just see a camera lens. But when you're talking to an individual and fact finding, you'll want to be able to look at the camera lens and the person at the same time in order to gauge their reactions and their sort of eyes and their facial movements and all sorts of things. But you do need to give them eye contact. That's a bit of a challenge, and we've got videos on that topic. But the big problem, though, is when you've got a fact find and you're having to fill in some kind of form, if it's on paper. Sometimes people still do have paper forms, or you're typing it straight onto the laptop using your keyboard. People do various ways, and some people have tablets where they actually write on the tablet and it creates words. So I've got some ideas to help you do that, because if you don't do it very well, you'll look down on the keyboard or the piece of paper and you'll lose eye contact. And if it's face-to-face in person, it's not so bad because you're there still, aren't you? But when you're not there, you're on camera, as soon as you take your eyes away from the customer and start writing or typing, you lose that connection. So let's just take a look at how we can do this. A couple of ideas for you. First of all, find another way of getting the data that you need. So I talk here about the hard facts, the boring stuff. Find another way of getting that. So create a portal on your website, for example, so that the customer goes in beforehand, types all the basic information, the data, the hard facts. Get those done beforehand. You don't need to collect those in person. That's nonsense, really. The customer should be able to contribute and do that, even if you just send them a Word file to fill in before the actual meeting itself. The second thing is, stop calling it a fact find. I think that's a horrible word, don't you? A fact find. Blame that on the regulation. They created that back in 1986 when it first came in. The whole point of fact find is you find facts. No, it's a conversation. It's a chat. It's a one-on-one, one-on-two conversation about clients' needs, wants, desires, goals. It's a life conversation. Call it what you like, but don't call it a fact find anymore, because it's horrible. It just puts people off, doesn't it? It's like an interview. It's like an appointment. People call these things appointments, don't they? You only have appointments with dentists, don't you? We call it a mortgage interview. I mean, for crying out loud, an interview is something you have for a job interview, isn't it? No, it's called a conversation. It's a general chat as well. So get it done online if you can, if you're important. If not, then tell the customer that for the first 10 minutes, we're going to have just a question answer session. So I'm just going to ask you loads of questions for 10 minutes, just get the facts. Don't worry about my eyes not talking to you. I'm just going to take the facts down. So preempt the fact that that's what you're going to do for 10 minutes. That's possibly another idea doing it as well. Just get it over with, get the pain over with within 10 minutes as well. Now, the other thing you can think about doing is to make it easier to make notes as you're having a conversation about their needs. Try not to sort of type it up or write it on a pre-formatted form. Try and find a way of doing it quickly. So you might, for example, have a piece of paper, and you might mind map the information. I mind map all the time. Now, mind mapping allows you to put 1 or 2 words as to what's been said according to the branch. You might have over here, you might have future housing. And every time they talk about that, you might want to mention a couple of quick keywords in the mind map. The whole point there is you're keeping eye contact with the lens because you're only writing down 1 or 2 words. Or take notes where you're only jotting down a couple of words as well. Might work as well. I'm not talking here about the facts, I'm talking about the soft information, the information that helps you to get the client's needs, goals, desires. Because if you're going to go around that conversation, you've got to keep that eye contact going. Be careful of the keyboard. Now, I know that some of you have to type straight into the computer or laptop, whatever it is, because your compliance people tell you have to. But not a lot of these people who have done the job properly. So it's very difficult now. Now, if you're typing, then it will be heard, and it is a distraction. You can hear keyboards. Don't care what people say. You can hear keyboards. You can see people typing. Unless, of course, you become a touch typist. That would solve the problem, wouldn't it? Be able to keep eye contact all the time, just keep typing. But you forget where you're putting it in the various fields. Actually, that would be a good option as well, touch typing. Get some training on that as well. Okay, some ideas. Afterwards, when the fact find is finished or when the discussion has finished, get onto your phone and audio record what's just been said. So you use the icon and audio record what's been said because it's fresh in your mind. So grab your phone and record all the soft facts, all the soft information that's been talked about. And that way, put it onto an MP3 and put the MP3 on file. That's your record of the soft facts. You've got your hard facts in that kind of way, so keep your people happy with the hard facts on. But the soft information, while it's fresh, get your phone or whatever you like to use, PC or whatever, and audio record it. And if you get really clever at that, what you could do is use some kind of software. So I use Otter AI. Which is a website. You might want to head over there and check them out. Otter AI, artificial intelligence school. Now they're pretty good at transcribing audio. So audio record it, whip it over to Otter, and they'll send you a transcription of all the information that's been talked about, which you'll probably want to put onto your best advice software, your sourcing software, in order to produce your suitability later on. So that's a really good way of doing it as well. The other thing, of course, final thing, is get the call recorded. A lot of people are doing that now. A little recording button at the top of the Zoom button there. Just get it recorded. Get permission, of course, but record the video, record the audio, maybe the audio segment. It can be done easily, and put it onto the system, upload it, and that way, of course, you've got a fantastic record of the meeting, haven't you? If anything ever goes wrong in 10 years' time, you can watch it, or your compliance people in the complaints department can watch it. But the point is, though, you've got it there available to you to refresh yourself on what's been said. Now, I know that your compliance people will put problems on these ideas because that's what they do. They have their role, which is to make sure that you're fully compliant, and that's pretty much what they care about. That's what they're targeted and paid for and measured against. So you need to take a look at that. There you go. Just pop that button there again. So yeah, make sure that your compliance people cooperate, if you like, and buy into whatever they want to do. So make sure you get some ideas. But the point is, though, make it as painless as possible. Enjoy the process. And that way you'll have a good online video-based fact find along the way. I hope that's been useful. Bye. There you go. So that's it really for me today. Quite a few topics to help you out. Remember our cohort starting in January. So head on to the website, find out a bit more about that. Key in anything you want to talk to me, post to me. I've got advisor@cpd.com, paularcher.com is my email if you want to email me about that, chat about those things as well. We've got a couple more before Christmas. Christmas Day, 2 weeks away. How exciting is that? Hope everybody's looking forward to Christmas. I certainly am. It's a big day, but we're having discussions with family at the moment as to who can come, who can't, whether we're going to be socially distancing, who can go in the kitchen. There's arguments starting already, and Christmas hasn't even happened. Anyway, enough of all that. We'll catch you next week. Hope you have a great one. See you then. Bye.